They're testing everything they can, can't find anything, and decide they're going to take me back for a CT. And when they do, they find a mass inside of my brain. It was bacteria that basically formed a pus. Like, it was the size of a potato.
Think about the worst headache that you can imagine on steroids. Our next guest, Dr. Brandon Bryan, aka the Migraine Doc, wrote a book on the fact that migraines suck, titled Migraine Secrets: 12 Unique Ways to Help You Achieve Migraine Freedom Naturally, and it's available on his URL, migrainesucks.com.
Those are hella scary ones. They'll end you up in the hospital. You'll go there and they'll do testing and they'll tell you the 3 most disempowering words of, it's just a migraine.
Hi, my name is Chris Burris. I'm a longevity expert and the chief scientist at a lab focused on a longevity molecule. My primary focus is to help people live longer and better lives with science. Make sure to subscribe and share so you and your friends can live longer and better, so you and your friends can live beyond the norms.
Hi, and welcome to the next episode of the Live Beyond the Norms Health and Longevity Podcast. Have you ever had a migraine? If not, or if you're not sure if you have ever had a migraine, think about the worst headache that you can imagine on steroids. Here are some stats. Approximately 84 million people per year suffer from migraines. Migraines are the second leading cause of disability worldwide. Migraine sufferers lose, on average, 4 to 6 workdays per month. That's an estimated $14 billion in revenue. They are the most costly neurological disorder, and they really suck. And in fact, our next guest, Dr. Brandon Bryan, aka the Migraine Doc, wrote a book on the fact that migraines suck, titled Migraine Secrets: 12 Unique Ways to Help You Achieve Migraine Freedom Naturally, and it's available on his URL, migrainesucks.com. Dr. Brown's goal is to help 1 million people who live with chronic migraines to have a sense of relief from these horrible attacks. Thousands have traveled from around the U.S. seeking out his expertise. His information has connected with over 600,000 followers on TikTok, and that same information has led to over 5 million likes. He is the co-host of the podcast titled You Crack Me Up. He is a chiropractor and the founder of the clinical director of the Specific Chiropractic Centers in Richardson, Texas. He is the founder of the Migraine Society, and he has a holistic approach to migraines because he believes that migraines are not just a head problem. Dr. Brown, thank you for joining us today.
Wow, what an incredible intro. I have been doing some podcasts lately, and everybody, I feel like, just continues to level up and give me even more. I think you reminded me of like a few things. I'm like, oh yeah, I did do that. Oh yeah, I do. I'm like, oh yeah.
You're like, this guy sounds really interesting.
Wow.
I would like to wait, that's me. That's awesome. Thank you. Before we jump into your area of expertise, I like to go further back. I like to go much further back. What was it like growing up, little Brandon? Where did you grow up? What were your parents like? And if there was some event or someone you could pinpoint as the reason you would ultimately become a chiropractor, a podcaster, an author, a migraine expert, an influencer, what or who would that be?
Absolutely. There are multiple people who have gotten me to this place. You know, it's always I think you'll hear a lot of people, depending on the profession, it's like, hey, we rest on the shoulders of giants. It's all the people who came before us. And a lot of times you don't consider those people giants, but they're the people that were willing to do the super tough things at certain times in their life so that I could be where I am today. And I try to pass that same advantage along to my kids. So I grew up in a super small town called Sayre, Oklahoma. If you want to look that up because you're just so fascinated, Sayre is how you spell that. It has one 4-way stoplight in the entire town. I graduated with like a class of 50 people from high school. So our graduation was probably all of like 30, 45 minutes in order to go through everything and do all the stuff that we needed to do. I grew up with my mom and my stepdad. Mom has basically worked in the courthouse or somewhere around that community inside of our community. My stepdad used to be a police officer there and injured himself, ended up going on disability, and then ended up being a stay-at-home dad for my younger brother. And actually was a great role model for me in just how you take care of your spouse, how you take care of your family, how in the situation that he was in with injuring himself, having, severe low back pain and issues that were going on that kept him from being able to work the way that he wanted to, he still took care of the house. We had a garden, but like I grew up in a pretty small town. We grew up in a trailer home. We were not rich by any means, but I'm also always grateful because I think when you're an adult and you have kids and you're taking care of them, it's like I never really wanted for anything. I played a lot of sports. I always had the shoes that I needed. I always had the equipment that I needed. So I had a lot of people who really invested a lot in me. But there's a few people that I would look to, and then there's just a few things. I think one of the things I'm most grateful for is that my family taught me the value of hard work, and that no matter what you do, working hard is just a expectation. If you want to achieve or do anything, you're probably going to have to work to do it. It's not just going to be handed to you. Everyone is a 10-year overnight success. A lot of times it's like there's been a lot of work that has been put in. And so I'm very fortunate that they made me to not be afraid of hard work. My mom, as soon as I could, hey, I'm loading up the push mower. I'm taking you to my friend's house. You're going to mow their lawn. You're going to mow lawns. You're going to do this. You're going to, my first job was at the local grocery store that we had. I would work anytime they had an opening. She's like, hey, holidays, you work it. You're going to get paid more. Hey, we're going to be staying late overnight to recoat the floors. Okay, I'll stay. It was just, hey, we work. This is what we do. She one summer sent me to work with my uncle who had a fence building company, which is the job that I respect the most, but is the most boring job you can ever imagine. Go set two corners of a long fence line. So when you drive highways and you see all those barbed wire fences, I've built some of those. Oh my gosh. Set the corners. While they're setting the corners, me and two other guys taking a 40-pound post hole driver, driving post holes, and just you all stand there. I walk forward. I drop the thing on yours. I walk forward and pick up another one. He does that, passes it to the guy in front of him, and we would just do that for miles. You would get up at 4 a.m. because you could only work till about noon. It would be super hot. And I still some days crave like physical labor like that. It's weird. It's just there's something that's very rewarding about doing that. But I don't consider what I do super labor intensive with working in my clinic, which I'm super grateful for. I think another thing for me is, and you'll notice on this podcast, if you want to talk, I will talk. I've always been a talker. I was the kid. Hey, he's doing great in class. He gets good grades. He does this, but he will not stop talking. And I've created those in my own house. Everyone talks in my house. We talk a lot in the house. And so I sort of joke because now I make videos, I record podcasts, I do things that, basically share and get my message out there that I'm trying to help people with. And I'm like, I've just been practicing for a really long time. And that was one of those things. But when it comes to people, I mean, there are obviously my mom, like I don't know how much she wants this information out there, but I was an accident in college. She could have made the easy decision. She did not. She gave birth to me. She raised me. My stepdad took me in and took care of me. So they are two people that I have to obviously give props to. My dad and my stepmom. My stepmom is like I'm a mama's boy. So she was my mom away from my mom when I would go see my dad. They both took care of me. My dad is a chiropractor, so does different than what I do, but I wouldn't be where I am without him. He's definitely somebody who gave me that. My grandmother, Granny, rest in peace. She just passed away. I actually just got a tattoo of her on the back of my arm here. You don't really realize until someone's gone just the amount of things that she taught me. She was another one of those of she worked hard. She took care of the people around her. She always took care of and spoiled me. She was, I think I was her second coming of, she had two sons and then she got to raise me. And I think, when you're a grandparent, you get a second chance at trying to do it again. And she always took great care of me. I loved her. I got to see how she took care of a community, how she built it, how no matter what she did, she loved on the people around her. And I think for me, those are some of the people that have allowed me to have some of those things and without realizing it, carry that stuff forward of like, this is how we're willing to work hard and do things, but also just build a community and take care of the people around us.
That's awesome. So one thing you talk about SARE, right? Am I saying that right? SARE. My dad was in the Air Force, so I moved every 2 years. So it was certainly much more disrupted. But at one point, we lived in a city, in a town called
Hmm.
Enon, which spelled backwards is none, and it also had one stoplight in the middle of the town. So I know that kind of environment. And then you talked about really kind of sometimes craving labor. One of the exercises that I've gone back to, and actually I'm having some Achilles and calf problems, so I haven't been able to do it for a while, which is frustrating, is sprinting. Is sprinting something, do you have that in your repertoire? And if you don't, I would highly recommend it because it might scratch that kind of labor itch.
I do. So, and make sure you take care of your Achilles. I had to have an Achilles surgery before my first daughter was born, and just from working out and should have taken care of it and had signs there, and it's like it's preventable. You just need to be smart. But yes, so I'm all about walking, moving, lifting weights. I met my wife at a CrossFit gym. I still do CrossFit to this day. Not from the standpoint of you have to be crazy and be a psychopath and do these workouts that well, yes, we still do them.
Is that possible? I didn't realize that you could do CrossFit and not be those.
You can. It's unfortunately the popularity came from the extremism, but a lot of it is based on functional movements. A lot of it is group community fitnessing, which for me is the important part. I hate working out by myself. I will do it. It's a part of it. Sometimes that has to be done just to get the work done. But I think there's a lot of things that can apply when it comes to that. And research is showing, hey, maintaining your muscle mass as you age is super important because you need to maintain that. It will keep you healthy as you age. It'll keep you up and active out in the community and doing things, which is important. But sprinting, it's funny that you mentioned that. I love doing that. I will probably have at least one or two sprinty type workouts, and some just specifically of I'm doing sprint workouts. My daughters love to do them with me too. It's hilarious to watch. But it's interesting. We used to do that stuff as a kid. Kids run everywhere. I have two daughters right now, getting ready to have a son. My kids run everywhere. They sprint everywhere. And I'm like, will you just slow down? I think we used to do it. It came so naturally. And then unfortunately, eventually they're like, will you just quit doing that? And it's like, no, you just chose to stop doing that. You put value on other things, and listen, maybe that was working and you had to provide and you had to do things, you didn't have the timeline to do it. I think that our bodies can maintain that late into, our life. But the reason we lose it is we just stop using it. We stop doing it.
Yeah.
But it is one of those things that I love. Do I get sore as heck from it the first, when I first started bringing it back in? Oh my gosh, my shins and my feet and just these weird muscles that I hadn't used. Yeah, you just don't realize how you're using your body. And man, will you breathe heavy? But the feeling that you get, it makes you feel like a kid again.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You brought up your kids, and the way I describe it is it just feels so youthful. It feels so young to just run. And you're right. It makes you feel youthful because that's what you like. Yeah. Hey, you're going to the ice cream place. It's a block away and they're running and you're like, what are you doing? Like, we can walk. And no, they don't want to. It's youthful to sprint. So very cool. Right. So you graduated from chiropractic school 2015. You started your practice 2016. I imagine you were working with all types of concerns, right? Like that's probably how you started. How did you start to focus on migraines?
So I got super lucky. My first migraine patient was my wife. So my wife used to struggle with migraines really, really bad. And having her get better, obviously, with the specific type of care that I use, which I know we'll get into, but it's like, a lot of times we hear this and it's like, before you swipe off of this podcast, you're definitely going to want to listen because the technique that I use and what it is that I do is a very niche focused way of doing this. But my wife was one of my first migraine patients. And then, when you first start, you're opening up your door. My coach always says we have what's called the red velvet rope policy. And the longer you do this, the more successful you get. You can be like a club. We can have a red velvet rope and it's like, oh, the club's full. You can't come in. Or when you start, he always jokes, the red velvet rope is on the ground. Everyone can come in. It doesn't matter. So I don't care what it is that you're coming in for. Anybody can come in. And, another thing I always mention to people is it's not like I was highly educated on migraine when I was in school. Migraine was like 3 test questions that I had to know on a test that I took one time. I think the same is also in medical school. It is not something that you are taught in depth on, and that can be super frustrating for people. But I got really, really lucky. I had 2 migraine patients that fell into my lap my first year having my clinic open. Both of them had had migraines for about 15 plus years. They had both gone the traditional, had a bad headache, take the over the counter stuff, have a really bad one, puts me in the ER, start seeing a specialist, start going down the route of medications that I have to fail based on insurance standards in order to get, the stronger stuff, the triptans, the other things, the Botox, all these things that people go through. And just realized that those things weren't working for them. Somehow found me through networking of just meeting people. Hey, I got this. Do you think you can help? Absolutely. Come on in. Take them through the process that we use in our clinic. And they both were big raving fans of what we did. They loved it. They were super excited. They got their lives back. They were able to do things that they always wanted to do without having to have constant, ridiculous head pain and all of the other symptoms that come with migraine. And so that was really by accident. In all honesty, I almost became the sleep doc before I became the migraine doc, because all my patients, their goal when I first started seeing people was like, I want to sleep better. Like, I don't sleep great. And almost all of my patients initially were like, I'm sleeping so good. And I'm like, cool, maybe I start to lean into this. And in my second year, I got lucky. I had some patients that came in. One of them was this like really tricky low back. He had been to everyone. We only work with the neck. And so most people wouldn't catch the connection. Started working with him. He got crazy results because of that. His wife wanted to come in, and they know a lot of people. So having them and winning them over, they start sending in people. Well, they hired a business coach, AJ, and AJ became a patient of mine. And AJ's funny because he's very direct. Like, he's just used to working with people. And he came in one time and he was like, hey, so how's business? And I was like, it's good, man. And he was like, classic answer. So it's not good. Okay, got it. Like, he just cuts through he cuts through BS like immediately. And so I was like, okay. And he goes, the problem is your profession. He was like, you guys suck at what you do. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And he was like, well, you guys say that you can help everyone with everything. So chiropractors just in general, it's like, hey, you got something, we can help you. Or it's just really like, hey, if you have neck and back pain, like, this is what we do. Like, we just sort of confuse people. They don't understand what it is that you do, so they never work with you. And I was like, okay. And he was like, so you should be very direct in what it is that you do and who you like to work with in order to get results. And I'm like, this isn't new to me. My coaches taught me target market and ideal client and all these things. And he's like, if you could only work with one type of client, what would it be? And I'm, without hesitation, I'm like, migraine. My migraine patients love it in here. They do great. And he goes, you should lean into that. So I was like, whatever, what does this dude know? And started to do that, started to have some success. Also had some like, this is my sole focus in marketing because I'm a marketing nerd. I love learning this stuff. And so social media and trying to gain attention was always, I was always a big Gary Vee fan and trying to learn from these guys. And I went through a phase where I almost didn't keep doing it because it was, seasons ebb and flow. And as I'm still trying to learn the flow of that, I'm like, where are all the migraine people at? Where are the, like, I need more people in here.
They disappeared. How'd they go away?
And I was like, oh no. And I almost, bailed out on it. And I talked to my coach and they're like, no, we think this is smart. You should stick to this. Just, you can mix things up. You don't have to just talk about migraines, but you could keep doing this. And so little did I know I would download this app called TikTok in 2019 and start posting some videos and just start kind of consuming. I usually learn first. And I'm like, these videos get crazy views for nothing. Like, why? Like, how? And so I wanted to grab my username just for.
Well, hold on. Let me stop you right here because I do want to kind of go down the social media journey. But you've talked about a couple of things. One is just business. It's just fascinating. The road, like, I don't know if you follow Alex Hormozi.
I love Alex Hormozi. The epitome of what we should want to be in whatever it is that we do. Now, I think he is a unique individual. He's a one of one. No one is like him. Oh, I love that dude. Do you already have his new book?
Yeah, I've already pre-purchased it. Yes, and I was actually connected on his last one. But he's amazing, and I think in one of his videos he talked about growing a business is the maybe most aggressive self-development path that you can go on, and I really think that's true.
He says violence is the most. Interesting. He says violence is obviously usually the most common answer, and when people hear that, they're like, "What are you talking about?" And it's anytime he talks to somebody, it's aggressiveness on whatever it is that you're trying to achieve to an extent that would make people be like, dude, what are you doing? I make 400 calls a day when I'm trying to, when you're starting a business or when you're doing something, because he will ask people like, dude, how did you do that? How did you make this thing successful? And they're like, I just took your thing and I did it, 100, 200 times a day. And he goes, that makes sense. Violence is usually the most likely path to success. Like, he's just like,
I haven't heard that one, but violence is the path to success. That's funny. So your business, the guy you're treating who's a business coach, who's like, how's business? That's good. That sucks. It's funny because in a previous career, I was invited to speak at a coach's event. And he said, hey, you're welcome to stay for the rest of the day. And this was all about how to grow your business. And, and I said, I don't really have time for it. And he said, and I honestly knew he was going to say this. It's like, if you don't have time to focus on your business, what are you doing? Right. And so there's these kind of insights from business coaches that are absolutely fantastic. So now let's get into social media. It's always fun, social media, because it's an interesting beast. You have quite a few videos with millions of views. Thinking about your first kind of breakout video, and apparently it was when you got on the TikTok and talk a little bit about the name that you were choosing. Do you remember some of the first breakout one, and then maybe some of the popular ones? Talk about them, and honestly, I kind of looked at your most popular ones. Talk about how simple they are.
So TikTok has definitely changed and elevated, and you don't get the cheap views anymore. Like, you have to earn it. There are times that you can leverage and hack your way there. One of the reasons, just from a marketing standpoint, that I always tell people I love TikTok is I can take the niche that I talk about and I can basically trend jacking and like jack a trend that is going on that people are using, but I'll just leverage it and talk about migraines. And so what I was doing was, everyone's doing this. This is popping up. I will leverage it to talk about migraines. So for me, I get to share the same message, but do it in a more creative way every single time. So I downloaded the app in like 2019, started posting videos a little bit, mostly just wanted to grab my username so that I had it of like the Migraine Doc. That's my brand. I want to make sure I have that just in case. And posted a video here and there. And it was like, the growth was slow. I remember January 1st of 2020, I hit 5,000 followers, which was the biggest I had on any platform. And I was pumped. It's probably one of the most pumped I've ever been. And I was starting to get a little bit of traction. I had people that were commenting, hey, can you find me someone in my area? I had a lot of people that were finding me local. Like, when the stay-at-home orders were lifted in Texas after COVID, I had a record week of seeing new people because they had been sitting there watching me and were ready to come in. And as soon as that happened, they're like, hey, I want to come in. And I was like, whoa, okay. They're like, I've unlocked something here. But I always tell people, my first patients I ever got from TikTok were a family that flew their daughter down from Alaska during March of 2020. So this is peak of COVID. We have no clue what's going on. We think if you walk outside, you might find people just dead on the ground. We don't know what this thing is. And I warned them, like, you might get stuck here. And they're like, if we do, that's okay. Like, we want to bring her out there to you. And I was like, I'm on to something. Like, I'm picking up clues. Something is going on here. Like, there's definitely... there's something that I was missing that I'm clearly not missing anymore, and this is garnering attention. And so I'm very lucky to have my coach. He's like, hey, this is where you need to go. And so I'm like, cool. When you started mentioning all the things, he's got a book, he's done this. It's like, those were all created because it's like, I've built a community. Now let me continue to do things that provide for them in a way of, this is what they're looking for. This is what they need. Never in my life would I thought I would have been an author. I would have written a book. I would have a community. We would have, like, all the things that I've gotten, I am so grateful for. But when you mention TikTok, it's like 100%. The first video that I remember getting, it got like 275,000 views, somewhere in that range. I can go find it. It's probably January, February, March, somewhere in there. Like, if I grab my phone and I looked, I could figure it out. It was a video that it was like this, like, basically the person would talk and it would be like, your response was kind of like a, So it was like, hey, so you're telling me this, and it's like, And then you could do this, and then it's like, and then it would do this, and then it's like, who can do that? And it was like, and it was like this thing. And it was just like me, kid you not, sitting on my couch, turn the lamp on for lighting, hold the phone over here. And I'm like, And then it's like, who could do this? And then it's like me. And it was like, what do you do when you're struggling with like just all migraine focused? And at that time, I used the Gary Vee model. I commented back to every person who commented on that video. So, do you know a doc in this area? Do you know this? How would you, just trying to go at it as much as I can. And at that time too, I got my buddy Scott, who's another local business that I use. He runs a company called Etchus. They do all this customized engraving. Now they do all sorts of cool stuff. But I was like, the reason I knew this was going to work was his very first video on TikTok. I said, post. He had like an ammo can that they had put their logo on that was green. And I said, back at the time, music was important. Hashtags were important, all these things. And I go, post it, use this song, use these hashtags and put it up. And he goes, okay. Text me like 4 hours later. He goes, dude, that video has 24,000 views on it. I'm like, Text me later, has 300,000 views on it. That video ended up getting like 1.2 million views. His first video ever on TikTok. And I go, there's something here. I haven't unlocked all of it yet, but there's something to this app. Now, the video that changed my life and changed everything, which I also tell people, I'm like, it's not just to go on and post videos. I was posting 3 to 5 videos every day for like 2 or 3 years. So violence is the answer. That just means like aggressively of like, I'm just going to keep posting them over and over and over again at different times with different things, with different colors, with different fonts, with different, just, I'll stand over here. I'll do this. Like I was just going after it. And the day that changed everything was July 3rd of 2020. So day before 4th of July, I'm in the clinic. I'm seeing a few patients and then I'm going to load up. Only had my one daughter at the time. We're going to drive to Oklahoma to go see family for the 4th of July. So there's a trend and it's like, you know, you do this like shoulder shimmy, walk into the camera thing. And I was like, I need to post a video. Let me just record this super quick. So in my old office, I would always just set the phone on the little bar that was on the door because everything was all glass. And when you walked in, people would always be like, oh, this is what I've seen on your videos because the background is what you saw when you walked in. So I set the phone up. I come walking around the corner and I do this. And all I write is like, when you've been struggling with migraines and you finally like download TikTok or you find a doc on TikTok, like it was nothing crazy. It was the simplest videos, probably like 7 seconds, 6 seconds. And I post it. I go home. I'm loading up the car. At this time, I had notifications on TikTok. I no longer do notifications on TikTok. It's not worth it. It's the amount of messages that I get. It's crazy. But that video, same thing that happened to my buddy. I post it. My phone's going crazy. I check that app. 50,000 views. And I'm like, whoa. Later, check back. 220,000 views. Later, check back. 1.3. Like, it just is going. Well, at that time, I had also just put my link to like, hey, if you want to schedule an appointment with me, we had link. You could put your links on there. Fortunately, also, I had just hired someone, which, was also crucial. Dude, I grew 40. So me and my buddy Scott, who I told you about, we had a race to 100K. So he was at 80. I was at 60. I had 100K that day. I gained 40,000 followers in a day. I had 100 appointment requests come through my link in my bio to my email. That was just first day. I had like 50 the next day. I had 20 the next. I had stuff rolling in like crazy. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on? So then, you know, we start having record months after that. Basically, business has changed. Oh my gosh, we're onto something here. That was when I'm like, cool, post videos. Now with that, I will also warn people, know that anytime you're doing anything and you are trying to help people and you go against the norm of anything, you're going to get hate on. So I had 2 people that tried to come after me, sent their armies after me. I freaked out. I called my coach. I'm like, what do I do? I privated my page. And he's like, dude, don't worry about it. He's like, they're yelling that they hate your purple hair. And he was like, you don't have purple hair. Like, they don't know you. They don't know what you're trying to do. The way that you know you're making an impact is if you're having people that, like, you can't win everyone. Like, I'm very much the person I want to win over everyone. I wish you knew me and what it is that I am and the father and the husband and the person that I am. But it's like, you don't know me. And I question everything that you basically go by when it comes to migraine. I go completely against it in an opposite direction. I'm not a neurologist. I'm not a medical doctor. And I'm out here challenging those things. So, of course, that's going to upset some people. And also, I'm a chiropractor, even though I do a very specific type. So there's definitely stuff that comes with it. But I could tell you, and I had videos after that. Sometimes I had videos for no reason. I'm like, why did that video get 4 million views? I don't know. But that video on July 3rd of 2020 was the video that like changed everything.
It's kind of really cool to be able to pinpoint that type of inflection All right, let's get into let's deliver some value to the audience. I know that's what you're about. First off, what are migraines? Let's just talk about that. And is there some sort of scale that people can understand how severe their migraines are?
So I think you nailed it in the intro. You were talking imagine the worst headache that you've ever had. And then also imagine on top of it, it brings a complexity of other neurological problems and has an impact on your nervous system. So your nervous system, your brain, your spinal cord, all the nerves. It's basically like the internal electrical system inside of your body, but it runs, controls, and coordinates and directs all of the functions inside of your body. So when that system is going haywire and upset, you can have a migraine. Now, just for simplicity, it's like we basically define it as a complex neurological disease that people struggle with. But when you start to dive into it, there are multiple types. There are a lot of types of migraines. You can have vestibular migraine, which has a lot of dizziness and balance issues, but not necessarily pain. There are, a classic migraine with aura, migraine without aura, abdominal migraine. You can have what's called a brainstem migraine. You can have the ones that affect your eyes. So we have a ton, and it's inside of my book, actually. I have a whole list. I'm like, let's just break down some of the ones that we talk about very commonly. But a lot of times it's the worst migraine that you can ever imagine having happen. You have nausea, dizziness, vomiting, balance issues, loss of vision. You can have one of my specialties, hemiplegic migraines, which show up like strokes. So they cause facial weakness on one side, paralysis to one half of the body, your speech is slurred, you can't function. Those are hella scary ones. They'll end you up in the hospital. You'll go there and they'll do testing and they'll tell you the three most disempowering words of it's just a migraine. And you're like, okay. And they're like, we're going to give you the migraine cocktail. We'll send you home. And then you start your pat down going to see all the, specialists and everything that you wait 6 months to 12 months to, 2,700 months to get into. And you can't be seen. But a lot of times it gets confused because people are like, well, yeah, I've had headaches before. And it's like, yes, people can experience headaches. It can be one of the symptoms of a migraine, but it's only a small piece of what people feel and what they experience. And it really is insanely debilitating. Like some of these people are able to function, which is incredible to me. But some people, it's so bad. It's like dark room, lights off, ice pack on the head. Like you're just trying to do whatever you can to survive because of how intense it is.
Yeah, so I'm like the geeky guy that's in front of you. I have a spreadsheet back to 2014 tracking 4 to 5 migraines per year, because they suck so bad. I'm trying to figure out did I work out too much? Did I eat something? Did I have a fight with a girlfriend? Did I drink too much? So what is it that's causing this so I can get rid of them because they suck so bad. And in the early days, they were really like lights out, quiet, in the dark, under the sheets, like knock you out. And then actually like a tap on the head like this would actually elicit pain, right? Not severe pain, but it hurt for a good week after a migraine. And that sense has very much changed, and we could talk about that for me. So, how do you feel about kind of pharmacological solutions, and then how is your approach different?
Yeah, you're basically talking about the beginning and, most important stuff of what I talk about is like, I believe, because this is where I have to be careful to not get everyone completely pissed off at me on this episode. I believe that
just most of them, not everyone. We don't want to piss off everyone, just most of them.
just most of them. Some of them, sure. I believe that our system has a place. So I know we'll get into it later. I had to have an emergency surgery. Like that surgery literally saved my life. I had a neurosurgeon save my life. I had to be on antibiotics twice a day for 6 weeks that were through a PICC line in my arm.
Hey, super quick break from the podcast. Hopefully you're loving it. This is a way you can support the podcast and take advantage of a great offer. We're offering 50% off of one of our MCT bottles. MCT is an amazing oil. Add the ESS 60 molecule to it. It's even more amazing. All you got to do is leave a review on iTunes. Send us a notification that you've left that review. We'll get you a coupon code. That'll get you 50% off of our MCT oil and free shipping. Back to the podcast.
Okay, well let's talk about that because that is on my radar. So you had an experience that a harrowing experience ultimately ended up in brain surgery. Wow. And I saw a really long. You were on Joel Evans' podcast, and you. It's a really long story. Let's cut that maybe in a third or half. But yeah, let like talk about what happened because I've got questions about that and how it ties to what you're doing.
Basically, I've had a history of ear infections growing up most of my life. Upper cervical chiropractic care has helped me a ton with that. But I had a bad one that was just kind of progressing and it was causing problems. September 1st of 2023, I guess that would be because it's almost 2 years ago now. My wife woke up to
So
me.
this is after. So your social media is taken
Yes.
off. Your practice is doing really
Yep.
well. You've got two
I have
kids
two
at
kids.
this
I have an
point, or
associate doc that's working for me in my office. So like we're humming at this point. They're not
yeah.
where I want them to be, but we're definitely finally moving in that direction. And I just, it happens periodically. You get sick, like things happen, and it's like, I just got a bad ear infection. So I'm like, it'll get better. I'm gonna give it time. My body will figure this out. If we need to, we'll get antibiotics, but like, I think I'm gonna be okay. And it just kept progressing and wasn't getting any better. And who knows what the situation really was. I think actually, let me pause and rewind that. We actually think so because my ear had been bothering me. We ordered one of those stinking cameras online that you can put in your ear and look at it. If you get one of those, be careful about putting it in your ear and do not use any of the attachments. We used one of the attachments on there to put it into my ear to try to see if there was wax. And that attachment was like this little sharp plastic thing and it scraped the inside of my ear. And I believe that's how the bacteria from my ear infection got into the surrounding tissue. So, well, I sort of skip around when I tell the story, but basically I'll tell you what happened. September 1st, I come to at about 5 in the morning. I'd had a seizure. My wife woke up to me having a seizure in bed, kicks me out of bed. Poor thing, she did not know what to do. She tried throwing water on my face. She was just like, I don't know. Fortunately, our church community, we have a lot of people around us that live in our neighborhood. They came over to help. One of my best friends, Ryan, is a medical doctor. So fortunately, he came to the house, rode with me in the ambulance. I basically woke up or came to with two firefighters picking me up off of my bedroom, or two guys from an ambulance basically picking me up off of my bedroom floor. I thought I was being arrested. I can't talk yet. I don't have all my faculties about me, but I just see red and blue lights on the porch and I'm walking and I'm looking at my wife and I'm like, why are you letting them take me? Like I didn't do anything. What did I do? And so my daughters are still asleep. Fortunately, they know nothing about this.
You disrupted your wife's
Big
sleep.
time.
I feel like that could be an
Yes.
arrestable
Yes.
offense on certain days.
So I go, they do a CT and an MRI. It's all clear. They want to do a spinal tap. I refuse because I've had too many patients tell me about how terrible their experience was getting one. Uh, had not been feeling well. Like I had not been eating a lot. So was really dehydrated. I sucked down 2 IV bags while I was there because I just asked, I was like, hey, can I get another one? And she's like, sure. So puts IV in me. Sent me home. I did not get any better, so my wife took me to another Baylor Scott and White downtown. They would not let me in unless I got a spinal tap. Did the spinal tap. Got into the hospital. They tested everything you can imagine. My heart, my liver, blood testing, all the things. Couldn't find anything. Asked me if I've had any issues. I'm like, yeah, I've had a bad ear infection. They're like, that would have nothing to do with this. Wrong. Send me home, basically put me on antibiotics, and I just continued to get more and more sick. This was the first time in my life I've ever dealt with migraines, so I was having a lot of tension and pressure on this side. Couldn't hear out of my ear. I started to have some really intense neurological symptoms, like I was having weakness in my left lower leg. I was losing my central visual field in my right eye. A lot of scary stuff. And so skip forward to Halloween of 2023. I wake up that morning sicker than I've ever been. Basically, the last 2 days, I'm waking up at like 5 in the morning. I'm trying to vomit. I'm breaking out in sweats. Nothing happening. I'm really sick. Tuesdays, both of my daughters go to school. So my wife takes them both to school, comes home and goes, what do we do? And I said, you've got to take me to the hospital. Something's wrong. Calls my in-laws. They meet us there. My mother-in-law basically carries me into the hospital. So my, now 69, 70-year-old mother-in-law is holding me up. Those of you who don't know, I'm like 6'4" and like 260 pounds. So I'm a big dude and I'm so tired and weak because I haven't eaten in 3 days. She takes me in. I'm still dry heaving with nothing coming out. And she sits me in the lobby. They check me in because this was the hospital that did my CT and my MRI, which fortunately my wife took me there. And she's like, they have records of you, so that's where I'm going to take you. And they wheel me back to a room. And I told my mother-in-law, I was like, if they're going to take me back to a room, you have to have them get me a wheelchair. I can't walk. I cannot walk anymore. So they wheel me back. The nurse looks at my big ass and goes, can you put yourself in the bed? And I'm like, sure, I got it. Like, you're not going to pick me up and put me in there. Got it. Get myself in bed. Decide I'm going to go to sleep now because I'm at the hospital. It's y'all's job to figure this out. I'm going to go to sleep. My wife always says you did not go to sleep. They asked you questions. You could not cognitively, like, I couldn't answer their questions. Like, do you know what year it is? Do you know who the president is? Do you know, like, couldn't answer any of it. Got pissed at my family for not helping me answer the question. I'm like, guys, come on, help me out here. Like, I'm trying to answer these questions.
Phone a friend.
My father-in-law stayed with me. My wife had to go leave to go pick up the girls. They're testing everything they can, can't find anything, and decide they're going to take me back for a CT. And when they do, they find a mass inside of my brain. It wasn't considered a tumor because it was bacteria, but it was bacteria that basically formed a pus. Like, it was the size of a potato, dude, inside of my brain. And fortunately, Dr. Denning, who, shout out to that guy, saved my life, was there doing another surgery, which is why I say my wife took me to the right place at the right time. He was already there doing another surgery on someone else, got the call for me. Basically went from that surgery, scrubbed up, and went in to do my surgery. Everyone, my church, my community, my wife had to reach out to all my patients and reschedule them. It was all a nightmare. But my wife had a really rough day. But I had a lot of people like, hey, we prayed for you. We were taking care of you. And I'm like, I appreciate that. But the people that meant the most to me were the people who reached out to my wife and took care of her. Like my coaches, Dr. Sean Dill and Dr. Lacey Book. Dr. Lacey Book was hosting they were hosting an event that weekend in Florida for like 200 people. And she stepped out and called my wife to check in and make sure everything was okay. And that to me is one of those things, like, I'll never forget that because you had a lot going on. You didn't need to worry about me. And I would not have been upset if you didn't because you had a lot on your plate. But you took a moment to step out and to check in on my wife when I couldn't take care of her. And that means the world to me. So she always profusely apologizes because they told her I was going to be sedated the rest of the night. So she went home to be with my daughters and with my family. And she's like, I hope you're not mad that I wasn't there. She's like, they wouldn't have let me be around you anyway. And so Dr. Denning was amazing. This is my favorite part of the story because I believe that the human body is a self-healing organism that is completely amazing. And if your nervous system and body is functioning correctly, it will do amazing things for you. When they went in and did my surgery, I'm a nerd, like you just said for you. So whenever I did my follow-up, I asked Dr. Denning about the surgery because I want to know how they do it. So over here, you could probably barely see, but like a little bit, I have like a question mark scar basically over my ear, but they shaved my head down. They cut through all this. They lay the skin down. I was like, do you pull the muscle back or do you cut through it? He goes, nope, we cut through it. So they cut through my muscle here. They lay that down. He said that was when we saw the hole in your skull that the bacteria probably got through into my brain.
How big is this hole?
It was pretty small, I think, but it was big enough for them to I think that was the day I had the seizure, was the bacteria had gotten through and into my brain, and that caused me to have a seizure because I didn't have another one. I've never had another one since. But he's like, yeah, we cut through, and he's like, we're looking at your scan and looking for this bacteria. And he was like, basically, once they created a spot for it to go, it basically popped out. So this big mass of the bacteria pops out. And he said immediately, not like a little bit later, not 20 minutes later, not 2 hours later, as soon as the mass of it was out, my brain immediately shrunk back down to normal size. Instantly. Just boom, back down to normal size. And I was like, is that normal? And he goes, no. Normally, we would have to leave you open to tell the pressure comes down, and then we can close you back up, because that's what they get worried about, is close you back up. Pressure's still there, causes problems, and you don't make it. So immediately, brain shrinks back down, close me back up, good to go. Keep me sedated the rest of the night. I was a nightmare. I always say it's like they talk about, like, in psychology, like the id, the like deepest version of you. I think that's what was watching over me and keeping me safe. Dude, they had to strap me down. I tried pulling all my connections out. I tried pulling my catheter out. I was a nightmare. My poor nurse the next morning, she was talking to me and telling me about all of it. And I said, hey, just so you know, I've got a chiropractic clinic that's in Richardson. If you ever need, I will take care of you. Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much for taking care of me. But she was as sweet as can be. And I remember I woke up that next day. It was the best I had felt in months. Could hear out of my ear, no pressure in my head. Best I could feel. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I feel great. My father-in-law was hanging out. My wife had to take care of the girls for school. So my father-in-law was hanging out with me and he's like, what do you want? And I'm like, I'm starving. So order all the food in the world, did all this. But it's like, it was a crazy journey. But I also, the follow-up to that is 3 weeks after a brain surgery, I was back in my clinic taking care of patients.
For this practice that's growing because of TikTok. Now, the quintessential TikToker, all of this would have been documented on it, but you're probably in the throes. Did you document any of it, or what did that look like?
I do have some videos on my page that you can watch where I took videos of me in the hospital. I'm like, hey, just kind of updating you guys on what's going on. So I've had people who follow me for a long time, people who travel to see me that are still patients of mine. That's like, oh my gosh, they wanted updates. I did a few videos. I always say, like, I think that moment happened. Like, here's what's interesting is when I finally was back home and I remember getting to go to church and like everybody like, oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. Like, we prayed for you. And I'm like, I wish I could tell you, like, I went to heaven and I could tell you what God looks like and sounds like and all these things. I really felt trapped inside of my own body. Like, I didn't go anywhere. It wasn't anything. It was like, I remember feeling trapped in my body, and I remember getting super cold when I went back to the surgery room. I was like, why is it so cold in this room? And it's interesting because I always, like, you think of the movie, it's like the old Western and the guy's like knows he's going to die at the end. And he's like, I'm living on borrowed time. And it's like, he knows that eventually it's going to come to an end. I sort of moving forward after that was like, I'm living on blessed time. Like, I am the most blessed. I don't care if my leg falls off and my car gets ran over by something and my clinic never becomes the success that I want it to and everything falls apart. It's like, I was never guaranteed this. And unfortunately, it took a big event for me to know that. But that's just true for everyone. You're not promised the next day. We're not promised this next moment. And so for me, that created this shift of like, I'm so much more grateful for everything, whether it's a trial or a triumph or whatever it is. It shifted my perspective a lot because it's like, dude, I almost died. Like, it was close. Dr. Denny is taking care of two people like me, and he has a 50-50 success rate. One person did not make it, and I did. And I'm sitting here going, wow, then there must be something important I'm supposed to do.
So you have this experience, you have this kind of, everything is now a blessing. You already are down the path, like deeply entrenched in focusing on migraines. What is it that you do? One, did this experience change anything that you're doing, or maybe you just kind of back other than the enthusiasm and excitement? And then what do you do? How do you feel again about pharmaceuticals and what do you do that's different?
Right. So bringing it back to the point. I don't know that it changed anything. One of my, like, if anybody would ask me what my secret to success is, it's just that as you would phrase it for doctors, like, my bedside manner, I think, is better than most people. My ability to connect with people, I think, is superior to most. I'm not afraid to sit there and take time with someone, let them talk, let them share with me. And I think people feel that and notice it when they come into my clinic. So I don't think that ever really changed. I think just probably my perspective, my energy, the way that I was carrying myself probably changed. But a lot of what we were doing is still the same. I didn't like change things dramatically. To be honest with you, I tried to make sure I spent more time with my family. I tried to make sure that it wasn't just always the violence that we talk about of working all the time. It was like, I tried to have some of that balance, but now I try to have it even more, I tried to have that harmony of spending time with my family and enjoying that. Not that I didn't before, but it's like, man, I'm so lucky to have this. When it comes to pharmaceuticals, it's hard for me to be like, yeah, those are great solutions because in my experience, because I can't technically say, oh, you should take them or shouldn't take them. I would say, do your research and look at what they're trying to do. Like, let's just talk about triptans, for instance. Triptans' mechanism of action is actually meant to enact on the brainstem. So there's an area in the brainstem that they know if they enact on this will impact blood vessels and how much they open and close. And so it has a few effects that it is essentially using and leveraging. So it's like, hey, this medication will enact on the brainstem. The caffeine that is inside of the tryptin will open up the vessels. And so because of that, we're hoping that it will decrease the frequency of migraine. Now, there might be another one now because somebody just told me about a tryptin the other day, but it's like there's like 7 types that you can get essentially. Some of them you take orally, some of them you can take through your nose. But for the most part, they all have a very similar mechanism of action. So the MOA basically is what you'll see in a lot of research. This is what a tryptin does. Well, the problem is I believe that migraines are a brainstem issue. I believe they're a nervous system issue, but you have to realize the part that we skip over is that they're housed inside of bones that are called vertebrae in your spine. And if there's an issue with any of those, then there can be problems. Now, if we were going to talk about where's the most likely spot for there to be an issue, because yes, you can go see a full spine chiropractor that does traditional chiropractic care and see benefits. But a lot of times I'm the person's 2nd, 3rd, 7th, 12th chiropractor that they've been to because they're trying. And for some reason, our clinic is the one that's able to get results. And I believe it's just the level of specificity that we carry and I have a way that I do it and I'm very particular about it. And I think I do that in a lot of things in my life. And it allows me to carry that forward and then bless my patients with that because I'm so meticulous with figuring out what's causing their problems and getting them better. So when it comes to what our system does, I don't blame the doctors because honestly, I don't think they're trained up enough to have the information that they need. And they're also told chiropractic is a complete load of bullshit. You would never want to go see that. And to be honest with you, what they don't realize is a lot of times I would agree with them because the dips that are making videos online that get popular are not really doing anything to benefit our profession. It's their crack videos. You look at my page, you will not find a video of me adjusting because I don't believe that does a service to what it is that we're trying to do. And I am legitimately trying to legitimize what it is that we do so that eventually, I've said this before and I'll say it here. I want it to be illegal that you did not recommend that a patient should go see me. I want there to be other me's out there and for you to not go, you should probably check out upper cervical chiropractic care. It should be illegal eventually because what you're doing to people is leaving them sick and suffering when there was an option. And instead of letting them go down that option, you told them. Now, some doctors are fine with whatever you do because they want you to get better. Some doctors want to make sure they get that kickback on the fact that they prescribed enough triptans every month. And so call it what it is. There's money that underlies a lot of this, but I blame our system more than I blame any doctor. Like I said, one of my best friends is a medical doctor and he's amazing. And I will send people to him in certain instances because there are things that I cannot do. But when it comes to migraine, the problem is there's a lot of things that we could do better. And our system just goes, this is how we do it. I'll give you a great example. There are CGRP receptor antagonist medications that are very popular right now. They're injectables that you get. When those came out, they're very expensive and they're very hot and everyone's asking me about them. So I had to do research. Well, we don't have enough research on the side effects of them. If you look up, I have patients, I say, when you get them, will you send me the insert that comes with it? Like I have a bunch of inserts in my desk so I can look at them and read them. This is where I nerd out because I'm like, I want to see what this says. What you will see when it talks about side effects is injection site irritation and inflammation. And you're talking about a intense physiologically altering medication that I know that it's going to have a side effect. I have a friend, she's a medical doctor. She said, drugs don't have side effects. Drugs have effects. And whatever the effect is, that's what we name the drug after. And that's what we market it as. And side effects are just side effects. But it's like drugs don't have side effects. They just have effects. This is what they do. And so here's what's interesting. What they're doing is they have a theory that so CGRP is a calcitonin receptor that they're essentially blocking inside of your body. They believe that higher levels of calcitonin going to those receptors is part of what causes migraines. Well, I'll tell you this. You can actually test to see if someone has elevated levels of calcitonin before you would recommend that medication. Do you know how many people get that? The answer is none. Correct. We wouldn't test for before we would do that, but we could because a lot of people will be like, they'll swear by it. And I get it. Somebody watching this will be like, hey, it worked for me. And that happens with a lot of things. There'll be people that say the daith piercing that they got in their ear was the thing that changed it. It's like in the migraine world, there are so many things that this is the thing or this is the thing. But we could actually test to know if that's going to be effective. Now, what I do is I then go, well, what are these meant for? Because I don't remember learning about these in school. And it's like, well, you have calcitonin receptors on your heart and your kidneys, all over your body. And actually, increased calcitonin levels are considered cardioprotective. They're good for your heart. They're also considered protective of your kidneys. So, are we going after the thing that is actually how my body would intelligently respond to the problem rather than going after what is actually causing the problem? So a lot of times we're giving these things, but they're not actually going towards the source of where the problem is coming from. And so we're not doing anything that is actually trying to work to benefit you. We're mostly just chasing pain and trying to get you out of it. And over time, we're stacking all of these things. So we don't know what those 3 medications are 4 or 7. We don't know what all of those do together, but you will be on them. You'll probably also be blamed to be told that it's stress or anxiety or whatever, or you need to lose weight or you need to do, we'll have all sorts of things thrown at you, or it's your triggers, which is a giant load of bullshit. But we can have all those things over and over and over again. And listen, if people want to hear the story, I can probably lay out their story from A to Z on what they've gone through and what they've experienced and why that happens, and then how they eventually end up with a specialist or, some alternative health specialist because they're trying to find any answers. I always sort of joke that I'm the perfect medium because we have a lot of science backing what it is that I use, the testing, the scans, the things that we do in my clinic. But there's also times where it's like, I can't explain to you why that patient got better immediately super fast. It was just a right place, right time with the right approach to what we were doing. But unfortunately, I feel like our system is all centered around focusing on that aspect of things and not the things that would potentially get you better. So we will test for certain things. We want to make sure you don't have brain tumors or venous anomalies or these other things. But when your tests all come back normal and clear, or we're unwilling to test you at all to do blood tests or anything, that doesn't really make any sense to me. So I get it. I'm the crazy neck guy that says, I think your neck is causing the problem. But why am I the one that is way more educated than the person who this is their formal level of schooling? That would be my question.
No, it's interesting. And this is, in so many interviews that I've done, the traditional medical system, I still believe that most people think when you go to a traditional doctor, we believe that they're looking for the root cause, but they're not, right? When you go to functional medicine, when you go to, a chiropractor who's taken it to the next level, those are the people who are actually trying to identify the root cause and spending the time. And if they're, if they're smart and have a scientific approach and they've got this kind of nerdy approach to things, then they can figure things out and they can work out really well. And I'll throw, there is no doubt that great bedside manner, that being heard, is a huge part of the healing process. And, in a 15-minute session with a traditional physician, you're not getting heard, right? Like you're saying a couple things and then getting talked to, and that's, I would say that's at least 30% of the healing process is in that piece. Now, compared to say typical chiropractors, you kind of focus on a gentle upper cervical correction, right? Like that's one of the things that you're utilizing. How is that different? What does that look like?
Yeah, so in our clinic, we focus specifically only around the top 2 bones of your neck. So you can look these up. They're called the atlas and the axis, or C1, C2. It is an area where there's no disc in between those vertebrae. That's actually the area where your brainstem sits. It's also called the craniocervical junction. So it's where your head meets your neck. And so it is the area I feel like that has the greatest potential to have problems. I also have rarely ever met someone struggling with migraines that has not told me that, yes, I have all these other symptoms, but my neck hurts me. And they will point every time. They're like, yeah, and my neck and my neck. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, man, when I first found this, it's like, I think I'm onto something. This is why, I know we just barely touched on it, but it's like, when I started helping people with migraine, I was like, why are these people getting better? And it's like, well, migraines are the most common disorder of the nervous system. They're thought to originate in the brainstem. It's like, well, where's that? And I'm looking up stuff and I'm like, okay. So a lot of what gets impacted, if there's a choke point, it's like it can be up here. And now I'm fortunate enough that the research and all the things is starting to back that up and prove it and support it. And yes, there's chiropractic research, but there's also research outside of that. And I've been fortunate enough now to see it person after person in my clinic. So for us, when it comes to upper cervical care, I'm not twisting or turning or jerking on your neck or pulling you across the table like you see in these crazy ass videos online. I do it in such a very specific and focused way that it allows us to have a better chance of achieving the actual results that we're looking for. So every time patients come in, we start with functional nervous system testing. So it's a scan that I do to look at the health and function of your nervous system and determine, is there an issue there? We just started using this new device from a company called Neck Care that I can put it on your head. It gets a way better reading on range of motion, and it also does a sensory motor test called the butterfly test, where people have to track and move. And when you have upper cervical instability and your nervous system's not communicating great, we know that there are problems there, and it gives me a score for those. So I have all these things. Now, why would I do that? Because I'm going to get you under care and I'm going to test it again and show, is what I'm doing working? Now, do I need that? Not necessarily, but I use it so that patients can have confidence in what we're doing. And I can sit here and go, dude, you want to come at me? I've got hundreds, if not at this point, thousands of cases that we can pull up. I can walk you through them and I can show you. I started out with this many migraines. I now have rarely any to none. After we do that in the initial exam process, then we take you back and we take a very specific set of x-rays. So in my line of work with the type of upper cervical, because even in upper cervical care, there are different types of docs and what they do. So we do a very specific set, and we're some of the only docs that do this, called biomechanical or motion x-ray films. So I basically get a series of 5 x-rays that give me a side view, a front view with you tilting side to side, and then I get a view from underneath the chin for rotational components. But once I do that, what I'm doing is I'm not just looking like, is this bone out of place, or is this, like when you get a traditional test, I'm actually looking, because just the same way an elbow or a knee or a hip moves, I know what line and how it should move. It's the same with your spine. There's a book called Punjabi and White, which is super expensive to get, but they basically broke down spinal biomechanics in there. And it's like, when the head tilts, what should the spine be doing? And when you tilt here, what should it be doing? Well, I can tell you this, everyone that's been told that their scans and MRIs and x-rays are normal, sometimes when you look at it from the side, they might be normal. When I take an APOM, the first shot that we do here, I can't tell you how many people I have that are like this, that have been like this for a long time. So you have to think about all the distortion, tension, pressure that puts on the brain, the spinal cord, the blood flow to the brain, the cerebral spinal fluid. So it's why I always tell people, the complexities of what you're dealing with are high, but the simplicity of how we fix it is as simple as it could be. So when I start looking at that, I can measure and look at, this is what your neck should be doing. It's not doing that. This is the area that's causing the problem. So then with a very specific approach with the table that we use, it allows me to apply a very specific adjustment to your anatomy and to your biomechanics. So then I can correct that. After I adjust you, we let you go back and rest in one of our zero gravity chairs for about 20 minutes. Then I bring you back in and I scan you again. So I have a pre-scan and a post-scan of, did I see the improvements that I want to see? Do we need to potentially look at something else that was going on in your x-rays to figure out what's going to be the piece that unlocks it and finally gives us that relief that will allow you to get back to living your life normally without having migraines all the time?
Man, that sounds fantastic. Especially the gravity chair. I mean, that sounds...
Oh, dude, I always say people put up with me just to get access to that room. It is their favorite by far.
I haven't had a migraine in 3 years, but I just need a treatment so I can get into
You are welcome anytime, man. You come down. I would love to nerd out.
So if someone is dealing with chronic neurological symptoms and, migraines or whatever it may be, and feels kind of dismissed or lost, what is the first thing that you think they should do?
So getting testing, I actually think, is probably one of the most important things to do, because maybe you are one of the outliers. That will happen sometimes. Sometimes tumors are found. Sometimes there is something. So when you're having crazy neurological symptoms, getting a CT or an MRI is not a bad thing, especially if you can get that covered by insurance. If we could do it, that is absolutely something that we would want to do. Because for me, when somebody comes in and I know they have that, I'm like, cool, then we've rolled that out. I know moving forward with what I'm doing is going to be easy to do, because we'll just run you through the process. So I think having that approach first is great. I think the second thing is you need to be open to all options, because the problem is a lot of times you just think, our system should clearly know how to help me figure this out. And so you get immediately plugged into the system that everyone has to go through. And so unfortunately, you can end up on this 2-year, 3-year, 5-year, 15-year journey of going all this route, ending up all the way at Botox injections, which are not that great for you. It's a botulism toxin. We marketed it super well. It's Botox. Botox is its own thing, but it's a bacteria that we're putting in that is causing flaccid paralysis, and it's inhibiting the function of your nervous system. It has bad effects on your vagus nerve, which is super important. So the problem is ending up going down that road rather than saying, what could we combo together? I would love eventually to work with a neurologist and have a clinic that we're working together. And it's like, I've got no problem with short-term relief that you're trying to get patients, but you also know long-term that's not going to be the thing. And I want it to be about the patient benefiting and not I benefit, because insurance will make sure that they pay me every time that I give one of these out, every time that I charge someone for these. So I used to think that, I'm like, man, is that really the thing? I know pediatric clinics that unless you are vaccinated or unless you are willing to do certain tests or things, you can't go into that clinic. Well, the reason is because they get massive reimbursement for that. And if they're not over a certain percentage, they cannot get that. So I get it. They can run their business how they want, but you have to realize what is the thing behind the machine that's running it. When you're just sitting there going, I just want to be healthy. I want my kid to be healthy. I want my daughter to be healthy. I want my husband or wife to be healthy. You want them to be able to experience full health. The problem is my profession sucks at getting you to understand that the health and function of your nervous system is the most important. Now, do I help people who are outside of the migraine world who don't have migraine? Yes, I do. We have patients who come in, like, nervous system regulation is very hot right now on social media. And so people are like, hey, I don't want to end up like my parents. I don't want to end up like this. I don't want to go down that route. So I'll work with people that are just like, I'm doing this as a preventative. I want to make sure that I'm supporting my nervous system so that it can function the way that it's supposed to. That's where I hope eventually we go. But I know for me, it's like you talked about, there's millions of people, and even worldwide, it's 1 billion people worldwide who struggle with migraine that are not really getting offered up any sort of other solution. It is these medications, these over-the-counter things, these anxiety, these SSRIs, these anti-seizure medication, these blood pressure medication. Like, this is what you get, and these are your options. And so I always try to tell people, have the most open options that you can, because it's going to give you the best likelihood of you getting better.
Man, one quick question before we get into our wrap-ups. Are you currently training people on your process, other chiropractics, or is that something that's on your radar, or are you doing it?
It is. I'm eventually going to have more of me for the direction that things are going. Like, I know that there's going to be a need. I'm actually eventually going to be becoming a traveling circus. So I found out you can get temporary licensure in like 31 states. So I have such a big following. What's funny is my friend Scott, who I brought up multiple times on this was his idea, not a chiropractor, not nothing, asking me how things are going. And he's like, dude, you have so many people travel to you. What if you traveled to people? And I'm like, what? I'm like, I'm licensed in Texas. I stay in Texas. Well, I did some research. ChatGPT helped me. And it's like, you can go to other places. So I eventually will be traveling to certain cities a few times per year, have people show up, take care of them while I'm there. And then we've got multiple clinics through the specific chiropractic centers all across the United States. So I meet with those docs every Tuesday. We train together all the time. We're always looking for the people that want to come up and be the next person. I'm going to need more people like me that care about this and that want to help people. So I am Dr. Sarah Zwink, who's the anxiety advocate. Let me give her a shout out. She was my first associate. She just left not very long ago, earlier this year. She's out in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho now, and she is getting ready to have her doors open in like literally a few weeks for her clinic. And so with our model, it is meant to be that way. It's meant for them to leave and to go out and open up their own clinic and to help. And we also have a group that we just use, like, there are people that are not in the specific chiropractic centers, but want to learn this technique. So we have what's called TATS. It's the art of the specific. And that is our group for training. That's where I found this technique. That's where I got into this. So, for me, it's, Dr. Andy Roberts, who is another one of my mentors, is no longer with us. And he was, one of the people that was crucial for me getting here. It's like, it hits you one day and you're like, oh, this is my job to make sure that this gets carried forward and changes and continues to be a thing. Otherwise, it will, eventually fall off, be gone. No one will remember. And it'll be like, man, too many people continue to struggle when it comes to that. So I'm actually in the process of, I'm not doing it this year, but maybe some in the fall. We're getting ready to have another kid. So I'm trying to plan everything around that. but I am going to have to start going back out again and doing some recruiting to go find someone, because you're talking a niche of a niche of a niche to be able to try to find people that want to come in here. And you don't necessarily have to want to help people with migraines, but you want to help people through upper cervical chiropractic care. Like, I'm going to have to go find the next person that wants to come in here and be able to do that, because I'm going to need them eventually.
So if you're listening and you might be that person, make sure you reach out. We'll get contact details at the end. This has been a fantastic interview. Like, multiple times I've thought, oh, that's a rabbit hole we could go down. And you're like, I got to control that. So let's get into our wrap up question. So, Dr. Brown, do you have a target age that you want to live to?
Yeah, 111.
I like that. 111. I like 111. And how long do you think humans can live?
I mean, if we're going to look at from a biblical standpoint, it's supposed to be 120 years. There's some research of, like, if you study genetics, it's like basically it has the ability to replicate and regenerate itself for up to 120 years. Now, I know a lot of people would look at somebody in their hundreds and be like, golly, I don't want to do that. I think a lot of people would say that. I think that's all on you. Like, I legit want to be in my hundreds and be strong and be playing with my great grandkids, hopefully, and just be like, yeah, like, this is what you can do, but it takes a lot of work. And so we'll stick to it. But I don't see any reason why you can't. And listen, the way science is advancing, who knows? Like, I don't know enough information. I don't know about how God created this stuff and whether you believe that or not, or universe or whatever you want to call it. But it's like, I believe there's probably a reason, but who's to say that that can't change and that there aren't differences in that? And I'm sure if we got a little bit more, which I'm starting my stuff. As you can see, we're in my new studio that I'm building out. I would love to have you on, because I'd love to learn more from your end of what you're doing, because I know that's been a lot of your focus.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you talked about hard work, getting into your hundreds, and thriving. I think that may take a little violence.
A little bit.
Dr. Brown, what are 2 to 3 protocols, habits, mindsets? Let's call them shortcuts, because everybody likes shortcuts, to longevity and a long health span that you would share.
So I love that you said 3. I'll give you 6, because I have a protocol for this. So I use it for my migraine patients, but you can also use this for anyone, because it's what I use and I do not struggle with migraine. So the first is cold exposure, not because it's what's popular on the internet, but for its effects on your nervous system and how it can have an impact. So not from I do this because I'm cool on the internet. It actually has great impacts on nervous system health. You don't need any more than 3 minutes a day, and you don't need any more than 12 minutes a week. So we're not talking anything crazy. But cold exposure. Hydration is important, but I actually call it mineralization. So you need minerals in your water. We typically try to keep our water clean, so we strip a lot of the good things from it. So there's lots of companies you can get it from, but having a good, healthy Celtic sea salt or working with a company, like some of the ones that I'm in the process of working with, but I'm not going to give them a shout out just yet till they decide that they want to have they want to. But there are a lot of companies that you can work with where you can get drops, put them in your water, have that. It's not just about drinking water, because that's definitely a migraine thing. Hey, drink more water. But it's about the fact that your body is mineral deficient. Sodium, magnesium, selenium, copper, manganese, all these, your body needs those for all of its enzymatic functions inside of your body. And when you've been sick and trying to overcome that, you deplete them super fast and you never put them back, and you sweat. So putting minerals back in your body is super important. So getting cold, mineralization, breath work. We forget that breathing is so simple and easy to do. And if we would just slow down and do it purposely for a little bit, it can have a really big impact. Oxygen is super important. Your body needs it. So oxygenate your body. Sleep. Sleep is the greatest life hack of all time. Good sleep will literally change your life. Everybody who's trying to do anything, the Brian Johnson guy that's trying to live to 200 years or whatever, that's doing all the things, his number one protocol is sleep. It is the greatest performance enhancing drug that you could ever use. I have a little bit of a sub protocol that is like, hey, here's all the things that you should do. At least get something to track whether you're actually sleeping good. Because what you would say is, I fall asleep and I wake up and I feel pretty good, so I think I'm sleeping good. But you don't realize there are some simple things that you can do. The last 2 are movement. So getting out, moving, walking, move your body. Your body was meant to move, kind of like we talked about earlier with sprinting or doing something. Move your body, move, walk. Even if it's walking is one of the simplest things that you can do. You can help regulate your blood sugar that way. You can lose weight that way. Walking is so underrated. And the last one, which is going to sound the kookiest of all the things I talk about, is grounding. Get outside barefoot and connect with the earth. Allow that to have those negative and positive exchanges with your body. There's a ton of research that they used during COVID. They gave people grounding patches on their chest, healed people of COVID. They used grounding for people who had wounds that wouldn't heal. The wounds would heal. They used grounding mats at NICUs and babies were getting better. Grounding, I used to think it was crazy too. I did research on it. Grounding is 100% important in the protocol.
Excellent. So we've got cold exposure, hydration / mineralization, breath work, sleep, movement, and grounding. I love it. What are 1 to 2 things that people get absolutely wrong regarding longevity and a long health span?
I think it just all comes down to it has to be super intense and it has to be all day, every day. I think it's, I think some people are.
Maybe you would say too much violence, given the context of this conversation.
And I think the internet has done that. It's you look at these guys and it's like, yes, there will be a benefit that you get if you're like, I do 1,000 push-ups every day. Yes, your chest will get big, you'll get huge, you'll get strong, but you also might not be able to move well, and that might cause other problems. Like there's a trade-off for that. But when it comes to longevity, you're trying to make sure it's not about sprinting when it comes to that. This is a marathon. This is a pace. We're trying to find a pace. And so for you, you have to find the pace that works for you. You might look at my protocol and go, I actually like 4 of those things. And inside of that, I do Chris's this stuff and that stuff. There's a ton of things that we can do. I think the other thing is we live in a world that everything has to be complex, and one of my core values is simplicity. I think things getting where you want to go is far more simple than you think. It does not have to be complicated. We've overcomplicated it, and in doing so, we've lost the trust in just the stuff that it's like, well, where's the research that walking is beneficial? Have you ever walked for a long period of time and thought, how much better do I feel? Where's the research that shows drinking water is good? It's like, I get that we have lots of things with research, and yes, we'll reference research, but we need to there needs to be a level of common sense of like, yeah, that makes sense.
All right, Dr. Brown, how can people contact you?
You can message me on any of my social media platforms. Either me or one of my teams will get back to you at the Migraine Doc on Instagram and TikTok. If you want to email me, you can, Brandon, BRANDON at thespecific.com. Or you can go to my website, thespecificrichardson.com/schedule, and you can submit through there if you were just like, hey, I really like this dude for some reason. I think I want him to help me. You can submit your information through there. One of my team members will reach out and we can get you set up. And I have a link that's on all my profiles, so on TikTok and Instagram. It's a link tree. It has access to all my links, my book, all the stuff that I share is all on there, so you can get access to that as well.
Excellent. And what in the near future are you excited about?
I'm excited about traveling around to go see other people. This is one of those things that I never thought was going to be a thing. And that video definitely blew up on TikTok. I've had a lot of people asking. And so I never thought I would, but I'm excited to be a traveling circus at some point that gets to go see people that might not have never got to work with me.
Dr. Brown, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, this was great. I can't thank you enough. I really appreciate it.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Live Beyond the Norms podcast. Make sure to subscribe and follow. Also, make sure not to be that guy, the guy sharing this podcast with people who are not interested in living beyond the norms. If you would like to learn more about the ESS60 molecule, the molecule responsible for the single longest longevity experimental result on mammals in history, a full 90% extension of life, visit myvitalc.com. That's myvitalc as in carbon.com.